I'd say the biggest factor in beekeeping is the weather. March and April were very cold, colder than normal, and I couldn't do any splits in April because the colonies did not grow as much as they normally would. These are two that I created from splits done in May. Of 8 virgin queens, I was only successful with 3 because I now found out I'm the only person with bees in the area until mid-June. It's now mid-June and the big commercial beekeeper has his bees in the area, and as I was saying, I had virgin queens all ready to do mating flights this week, but it got cold in June, and when you use those queen cages around them, queen cells on the frame, the bees can't keep the queen cell warm and they end up dying. So this is a combination of several splits that I've done that didn't make it, and now doing queen cell cups, and they did the top row and maybe a few on the bottom. They didn't do as many I was hoping, but you gotta take what you can get. Now this is 2 deeps of bees. It's a combination of 3 separate colonies. And then over here, this was 2 colonies. And I was hoping that they would do at least 5. And I think they only did 3. Maybe 2. And this is another colony that I produced from virgin queen. In all my videos, I want to point out, if you buy Russian bees from FOLEY'S Russian Bees, he'll ship them in a box with the loose workers. And on here, it says air vents, do not block. And those loose workers block the screens, and during summer they get hot. Of an order of 26 queens, 6 of them never made it out of cage, and within the following 2 weeks most of them were all dead. So the queens that I put in last summer on my second order died. The first order didn't turn out so bad because it was smaller. As I was saying, when you have queen cells on a frame and you put the cages over them with rubber bands, it works fine when it's warm enough for the queen cell to stay warm, but it got cold here a week ago. Temperatures at night down in the low 40s, and I guess that's why most of my queen cells didn't make it. And then when you do the queen cell cups, I have this made up about day 10 or 11. You take them off and you put them in here and you put it right back in the hive with the colony that produced the queens, and this will keep the queens from getting out and killing each other. This was what happened to FOLEY'S queens last winter. The ones that I could gather during the winter, they pretty much all died. It was a big waste of money. So I wouldn't do what I did last summer. It's a waste of money. 2 years ago I was very successful at producing queens, and I didn't use any mite treatments, and I thought Russian bees would be better against mites. But Jason Foley's Russian queens, they died just the same. See, this is where it came from. Died just the same as any other bee I've ever had from mites. Mites took them right out all through winter. And Russian bees do not come back as quick as Italians do in the spring, so therefore if you want to do splits and you want to make your own queens, you're delayed a month. So I wouldn't advise, if you want to raise queens, I wouldn't advise having Russian bees. And I want to point out, see, my yard is Dutch white clover. I'm working on trying to get all the weeds out. It's a lot of work. It's basically a full-time job. I don't know if you can tell, but it's just covered in bees. And these are my other hives over there. And then I want to point out, 5 years ago when I bought bees from a big commercial beekeeper that's been having hives for like 30 years, I pointed out that asparagus was good for bees. It may not produce honey, but it produces a lot of pollen, which is good for bees. And these rows are just full of bees. Can you hear them? And I'm sure probably half these bees belong to that big commercial beekeeper. They're over here getting pollen, so they won't have a shortage of pollen. And with the Dutch white clover, they'll have lots of nectar. You can actually make money off your yard. You put it all in clover, they make honey. The grapes have no benefit for bees. That's basically for me. I make my own wine every year. So here's some more clover over here. This year got weedy and I mowed it 3 weeks ago and it came back. And as soon as it gets done and the heads turn brown, I'll probably mow it again so I can try to maintain some clover in here without having the weeds take over. That's the biggest challenge. Alright, thank you.